Hi everyone, and welcome to the second lesson of British slang. I won't waste any time today with a long introduction. We'll just get straight into the expression learning. So let's move on. First expression of the day is to be chuffed. To be chuffed has a simple meaning. It just means to be happy about something, but it's a very commonly used expression in English. You'll hear people use that a fair bit, not just young people, you'll hear older people use it as well. It's obviously not a rude expression. You can use it in many situations. Simply means to be happy. Some examples here. He was really chuffed to have got the job. She called me up and sounded chuffed on the phone after finishing her exam. I would have been more chuffed if I had won. Okay, next expression. To cock something up, or a cock up. This is a nice expression, quite common. It simply means to make a mistake or to mess something up. The translation you can see underneath. Some examples of it. He completely cocked up the job interview. So he completely ruined the job interview. It went very badly for him. It'd say, I really cocked up the job interview. Another example, the new project was a total cock-up, to be honest. So the noun form of it, it means a complete disaster, a total mess. The new project was a total cock-up. The third point, the boss was happy that they didn't cock it up. That means, they were happy, didn't mess it up, they were happy it went well. Okay, another next. A doddle. This means simply that something was very easy. The translation then, Kinderspiel. I quite like that expression in German actually. The examples would be for, I thought the exam was going to be difficult, but it was a doddle. Simply means it was very easy. No need to further explain that one. Number 2, booking flights online is a doddle. Number 3, he thinks it's a doddle, but wait until he starts the job. So a doddle, it's quite a commonly used expression. You'll sound pretty impressive if you use that as a foreigner, so it's well worth learning. Just means something was very easy. It's not rude. It's just a good expression to know. Let's move on. Very common one. To be dodgy. Dodgy as a word has many meanings. It can be used in quite a lot of different contexts. But the most common ones I've put here in the examples, if you say he is always making dodgy deals in the desert, that means dodgy in this case, it means suspicious, unreliable, just, like a dodgy businessman, you can say. Number 2, the plane is meant to be a bit dodgy, be careful. In this case, dodgy, it retains the meaning dangerous and risky. It means that the plane's maybe very old, and it's a bit dangerous. You wouldn't want to go on the plane. You're scared it might crash. You can describe it as being dodgy. Number 3, the food is a bit dodgy here. I don't want to be ill. That means that the food is dangerous. The food's not well cooked. The food is perhaps quite old, and it's just not quite right. You can describe that as being dodgy. So if you use those three examples as guidelines for when to use dodgy, then you won't go very far wrong. So this word is used incredibly often. Dodgy is a good one, and you will impress people by using it, and you will certainly understand a lot in the pub in England by having the expression and its meanings in your head. Next one. To be the dog's bollocks. I wouldn't say this is particularly common, but it's used enough that it's worth knowing. It sounds funny, obviously. If you translate bollocks in a dictionary online, then you'll get the exact meaning of bollocks. It just means to be very good, something to be extremely good. You can say, for example, have you seen him play football? He's the dog's bollocks. Number 2, that film was the dog's bollocks. I thought it was going to be crap. Crap just means awful, terrible, not good. That's another expression in itself, or a word, but I just stuck it in brackets. Number 3, Fabric, which is a famous club in London, is the dog's bollocks. That means that Fabric's great, it's a fantastic place, something's very good, the dog's bollocks. Let's move on. Oh, this is a good one. To doss around. To doss around just means to be lazy. It means to do nothing. To sort of waste your time, to just doss around. Some examples of that would be, he's been dossing around at home all day long. That means he's just been, walking from room to room, not doing very much and wasting his time. Number 2, she would have passed her exams if she had spent less time dossing around in the park with her friends. So the same meaning, wasting time with her friends, not doing anything constructive, just dossing around. Number 3, my parents always say I doss around all day, but that's really not true. So I'd use this one, doss around. It's a good expression, commonly used, well worth knowing. Let's move on. A fag. A fag simply means a cigarette. Some examples of it. Mate, have you got a spare fag for me? Number 2, she couldn't smoke on the flight, so she was bursting for a fag when she got off the plane. Bursting for is a good expression. It just means to need something a lot. You can also say I'm bursting for the toilet, which means you need to go to the toilet a lot, obviously. Number 3, I have tried to quit smoking fags for a long time, with no success. It's useful to note as well that a fag is quite a nasty expression that can also mean a homosexual. So, be aware that it also has that meaning, but it's a horrible expression. And it shouldn't really be used. It's an ugly word to use in that context. But, I still believe it's worth knowing what they mean and what all the horrible words mean. I've learned them in German, more or less. Let's move on. A fiver or a tenner. This is very common. It just means 5 or 10 British pounds, but many people get confused when they hear it. Some examples of this would be, train tickets in London are so expensive. It was almost a fiver for only a single journey. Number 2, for a tenner, you can get the bus from London to Birmingham. And number 3, I asked my dad for a fiver, but he said no. So just £5 or £10. Slang expression, fiver, tenner. That's used everywhere. Old people, young people. It's not rude, it's just an expression. Okay, this one, to flog something. This is a nice expression. This means to sell something. So just etwas verkaufen. Examples would be, I would have flogged it at the market, but it would have been worth nothing. So I would have sold it at the market, but it would have been worth nothing. I'll use the phone for 2 weeks and then flog it. The car is so old that it won't be very easy to flog. It won't be very easy to sell. So it's a good colloquial expression. You'll impress people by using it. So it's worth writing down and practicing with these sentences as examples. Let's move on. To be fit. Fit obviously means the sort of the standard meaning of fit obviously means you're in good physical shape. You're fit like an athlete. But in schools in England, it will often be used, and not just in schools, in general, it'll be used by young people to imply that someone is attractive or good looking. It's probably one of the most common ones to say they're good looking. You just say, for example, number 1, I think the girl is quite fit, but I don't know if she has a boyfriend. It doesn't imply that she's necessarily in a sort of like an athlete, super fit physically. It just means that she looks good and she looks attractive. Number 2, all the girls said he was fit, which made him happy. Number 3, some people considered her to be fit, but I didn't think so. So that's all I've got time for today. I'm going to aim to try and get in about 10 expressions every day, but I do it all after work, so I can't make the videos too long. I hope that's okay. I think it's better if we stick to 10 a day. And I hope you learned something from this, and I'd be really, really grateful if you could give me some feedback, whether it's positive or negative, or whether you'd like me to speak slower or speak faster or anything at all. Just give me a comment and I'll be grateful for it. Okay, until tomorrow. Ciao.